Folks, a lot of attention goes to Washington, D.C., and for obvious reasons. I mean, the government in Washington is getting bigger and bigger, and the scope and size is perpetually expanding, and so obviously there's a lot going on up there. But a critical component in the battle for freedom is actually happening in your state capital. In fact, if we get it wrong at the state level, there will be no hope of saving freedom in our country. We have a very special guest joining us today on Conversations That Matter for the New American Magazine today. She is Representative Beryl Amedee. She is in the Louisiana State House of Representatives. She was the vice chair of the Republican Party of Louisiana. She also served as the vice chair of the Legislative Women's Caucus, and she currently serves as the vice chair of the Education Committee. She serves on the Appropriations Committee and the Agricultural Committee. She serves in ministry. She's a business owner. She's a mother of 3 children, a grandmother of 6, and somehow she still has some free time and does gardening and fishing and all kinds of fun stuff. Representative, welcome to the program. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So you are actively involved in the Freedom Caucus and trying to establish these across the nation. Why is it so important for states to have a Freedom Caucus? What does the Freedom Caucus do for those who aren't even familiar with this?
Well, it's important for each state to have a Freedom Caucus because the focus of the Freedom Caucus is on guarding what's most important to those of us who love God and family and country. And as you alluded to in your introduction, we might be the next best hope for this country to have a Freedom Caucus in as many states as we can.
So talking about preserving freedom over the long term, I mean, I know we can't take our eyes off of what's happening in D.C. with the Congress and the president, but so much has to happen also at the state level. Talk to us about what are some of the ways that state governments and that state legislators in particular can help to protect freedom in their states.
Well, the higher the level of government, the more slowly it moves, and it seems the more bureaucracy is involved. So states can move a little faster than Congress can. And so one of the efforts that many states are focused on right now, especially those states that have a Freedom Caucus, are election integrity. That's a big deal right now. And so the push is on to make it so that in as many states as possible, only citizens can vote, because it seems that Washington's going to take a while. And so that's a top focus right now. Also, when we talk about the national debt, many states have a balanced budget amendment, Louisiana being one of them. And so as states get control of spending and streamline their budgets, it will help. And we can help push for Congress to one day abide by a balanced budget amendment also. So those are things that we can work on at the state level to improve things while waiting on Congress to take the right steps, and to urge Congress to go ahead and take those steps quickly.
Yeah, amen. Now, one of my passions, of course, is education. I do believe that if freedom is going to survive over the long term, we're going to have to do a better job with our children. It's no surprise today to conservatives, to Republicans, that what's happening in the public schools is not exactly conducive to a civilized, free society. The attention that this has gotten, I think, is encouraging. But what are some of the ways that you think state governments can try to improve this situation?
Well, right now, in many states, the effort is already rolling towards universal school choice. My favorite is to expand the protections for parental rights. It seems, I've always said that the closer to home the educational decisions can be made, the better off our children will be. And Washington is way too far, and sometimes the state capitals are even a bit far. But we fully support the MAHA plan to remove the U.S. Department of Education. Now, as far as I know, no federal agency has ever been dissolved, but the effort is underway. And so returning that authority back to the states is crucial, I believe, to setting our course for making education in this country better, to get us back on course, to get us back to what we should be focusing on, not propaganda, not socialism and communism. We should be focusing on educating our young people so that they can turn out to be productive members of society with morals intact. And so that's the plan.
Yeah. One concern that's been expressed by a lot of people on the conservative side of things is that once government money starts going to homeschooling and private schools, there will follow almost inevitably efforts to control homeschooling and private schools. How do we protect against the government taking charge of alternative education options, shall we say, once the funding starts flowing?
Well, that's an excellent question, because that is right at the crux of any debate. Whenever school choice proposals are being debated in the states, we often see some families, some parents, some groups, usually they are homeschool based, rise up against school choice funding. And the reason is because we know that wherever tax dollars go, just by nature of being tax dollars, accountability must follow. And so when we're talking about government services that are provided by government departments and government agencies, it seems kind of common sense. But in education, it's different from everything else that the government provides. In education, we're talking about our children. And the greater the role of government in educating our children, the smaller the authority of parents. And so what we have here is a foundational debate, or a foundational challenge. How does the government use tax dollars to allow parents freedom of choice in their education options without regulating those choices? Now, as a legislator, I was happy to support Louisiana's efforts towards a universal school choice program. We call it the Gator program. And that bill passed last year, and it's already rolling. But I made sure that the language in that bill prohibited the Gator funding from going to homeschool families. Now, it doesn't mean a homeschool family could not choose to use that funding in a future year, but in the year that they receive the funding, they technically cannot be homeschoolers, because in that situation, we would be using government funding for homeschooling. And honestly, I'm okay with that. The problem is we don't truly have real school choice, at least not to the extent that I would like to see. The school choice efforts that I see right now remind me a lot of Henry Ford when he was asked about the color of Model Ts. And he said, oh, you can have any color you want as long as it's black. So when we have government-funded school choice options, you can have any option you want as long as it's government approved. So for example, in Louisiana, if you receive money through the Gator program, and one of the things you believe your child needs is an iPad or a tablet, you can't just go down to your local Office Depot or Best Buy and buy a tablet. Instead, you can only purchase a tablet through a state-approved vendor. Now, if you think about that for a minute, can you see where that could become corrupt easily when the government controls all the options? What does that say for the price that you're going to pay for that tablet in a few years? I mean, it's fraught with problems, in my opinion. Now, I've supported the program, like I said, because it does give options for people who right now don't really have a lot of options. But I will be working to be sure that as we talk about school choice and tax dollar funding going to education, that we never take away a parent's true choice to be free of government intervention and regulation when they want to teach their own children. The government should never get between a parent and a child for education purposes.
Amen. Yep. Representative Amedee, Louisiana has done some major things just in recent years. One that came to mind, actually I wrote an article about this, was the Ten Commandments law. You guys passed a law ordering that the Ten Commandments be posted in every classroom. Now, the federal courts have, at least temporarily, I understand, put that on pause. But why did the Louisiana legislature think it was important for children to know God's commands when it comes to morality?
Well, we see a moral decline in this country, and we believe that having the Ten Commandments posted on classroom walls will give students an opportunity to see it and think about it all the time. In many cases, these students aren't exposed to something like God's moral code anywhere else in their daily lives. We know that church attendance has been on the decline, for example, and of course, they're not teaching Bible in schools these days. So it's an opportunity to see the moral code, and it's really not a religious issue, as many people tried to bring up who wanted to oppose the bill as it was working its way through. It's not a religious issue. It is a history document. This is something that our founding fathers considered as they wrote our nation's laws and even our state laws here in Louisiana. And we felt that there is no problem with putting these in the classrooms, because we already had a law in Louisiana that said that the Ten Commandments could be studied and as part of the curriculum. We just found out that they really weren't. And because in the Supreme Court building, they have this same version of the Ten Commandments posted on their wall for all the public to see. So why can't we put those in schools? If it was something that was unconstitutional, then the Supreme Court would have to take them down. So we expect that whenever the lawsuits finish, Louisiana will fare well, and we will still have the Ten Commandments posted on the classroom walls in every school.
Amen. Yeah, I think a proper reading of the Constitution makes very clear that it is not the job of the federal government to tell Louisiana what school children in Louisiana ought to be doing or learning. You guys, we're almost out of time, Representative, but you guys passed another law recently in Louisiana about the World Health Organization, basically saying that they're not going to have any authority within your state when it comes to public health policy. Several other states tried to follow suit. Some did. Why did you guys feel the need to protect the citizens of your state from this kind of intrusion from international organizations?
Well, philosophically, those of us who supported the bill already believed that this should be how it works, that these three-letter acronym entities shouldn't have any true authority in the state of Louisiana, except maybe to make recommendations and suggestions. But the pandemic experience is really what was the catalyst for bringing the bill and passing the bill when we did. The idea that these entities, these unelected bodies, were dictating rules and regulations that came down to the level that it was affecting our daily lives, and whether we could do business, whether we could go in and out of buildings, whether we could get together, was just horrifying when you understand the rights that we have protected in our Constitution and the limitations put on government. We just felt that since common sense did not rule and reign, it was time to actually put that in the statutes so that we should never have that experience again.
Amen. Brilliant work. Thank you guys for doing that. Thank you for leading the way. Representative, we're just about out of time. Is there a way for people to follow you on social media? How do people learn more about what you're doing?
Well, let's see. I do have a Beryl Amedee State Representative Facebook page, and I do have a Twitter account, and people are welcome to contact me through either of those. I am currently learning to manage those better and to be more timely in my post, but I am one person and a busy person, so if you need current news, my page might not be the best place to get the latest, but you are free to reach out and contact me, and I'm doing my best that whenever we're achieving things important in Louisiana, or when we're battling things important in Louisiana, that I do put a post up about it.
Excellent. Representative Beryl Amedee, thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for your efforts on behalf of freedom in Louisiana, and I hope we can talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
All right, folks, that's all we have time for today on Conversations That Matter. I'm Alex Newman, your host, senior editor at The New American Magazine. Get over to our website, thenewamerican.com. Thanks for watching. Share this out, and God bless you all.
Man, do I love this teleprompter. I don't even know what I'm saying, but I've never felt smarter.
We're live in 30 seconds. What's the story?
Story? I don't know. Corporate just emails the scripts to the prompter. You know.
Is it even true?
Who knows? Who cares? I just read it. You know? It's my job.
Who decides what's news on your network? It's time for independent journalism. Subscribe to The New American at thenewamerican.com.